Okay. Well, it's showdown time. Yes. All the great movies build to a showdown, don't they? Don't you love a good showdown? We've been watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy over the last little while. And, Return of the King, there's that epic battle where Gandalf and Aragorn lead the world of men against Sauron's much greater army to draw his gaze away from Frodo and Sam as they approach Mount Doom with the ring. And it's it's epic, just crazy. But the thing is, Scripture is full of showdowns, isn't it? When you think about it, referred to one a moment ago, Moses leading Israel out of Egypt, and they're trapped at the Red Sea. Their doom is imminent, and God breaks in. Yes. Boom. Yes. Showdown time. What about Jericho? This bizarre strategy. March around the city once. Next day, march around it again. There's not a crack in the wall. Third day, do it again. Fourth day, do it again. Fifth day, do it again. Sixth day, do it again. Seventh day, do it again and again and again and again and again and again. And it's like the fifth time, there's no crack in the wall. There's no difference from day one. Sixth time around, they could have stopped then. And they would have seen nothing. Seventh time, the whole thing comes down. What a showdown. What a showdown. Remember Gideon and the Midianites? Your army's too big? What? Started with 32,000. You're going to take us down to 300, and you're going to ask us to defeat an army of, some historians reckon, 135,000 Midianites. Whoa, what a showdown. Not a sword between them. Jars with lights. Like, what kind of strategy is this, Lord? You want to send us against the Midianites? And these guys have got this new technology called chariots. And why is the central figure in our story a prophet? Because the whole point of the story is that God is calling his people back to him, back to his heart. Now, it may be that you've come along here today and you're asking the question, can I know God? Is there a God who would actually hear my prayers? Is there a God who would actually answer my prayers? Is there a God who wants to know me? Like, it's all very well talking about all these amazing things in the Bible, but what about me? Is there a God who wants to know me? How can I hear God? And how can I know his heart? Well, I believe that if you're here today, it's not by chance. It's because God is calling you. Just like Elijah was calling Israel. So Israel's deserted God for idols. Yahweh is, and literally Elijah's name means Yahweh is God. His name is this massive statement. So when he comes into Ahab and Jezebel, he stands there, I am Elijah. I am Yahweh is God. You Baal worshippers. I mean, a little bit provocative. So God's voice has grown more and more quiet in the land until it's become impossible to discern. Most of Yahweh's prophets and priests are now dead. There's a few who are left, and they've been put to death by Jezebel. Other voices are dominating the land now. The voices of the prophets and priests of other gods now clamor in the temples and in the cities and the streets. And there should be kind of a horror that rises in us when we think about God's chosen people, the ones through whom God wants to reveal himself to the nations in this absolutely deathly state. How are they going to get out of this? So it's into this confusion and this apostasy, this silence, that Elijah suddenly appears. There shall be neither rain nor dew in the land until I command it. What's happened? God's voice has just been heard in Israel. And so Elijah goes and hides. And he hides for the 3 years, 3 years and 6 months. And actually there's an implication in God hiding the prophet. It's like, my voice is hidden again. That in and of itself is a terrifying judgment. See, God is the speaking God. He loves us. He speaks to his children. What a terrifying thing it is when God's voice is silent. And so 3 years after Elijah's pronouncement, God tells Elijah, go and present yourself to Ahab. Now, at this point, Ahab's been searching for him and to kill him. You know, he's an enemy. Go and present yourself to Ahab. And actually gather all of the prophets and the priests of Baal and meet me at Carmel. And so we read from 1 Kings 18, verse 20. So Ahab sent to all the people of Israel and gathered the prophets together at Mount Carmel. And Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. And the people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, I only am left a prophet of the Lord. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let 2 bulls be given to us, and let them, the Baal's prophets, choose 1 bull for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire to it. And I will prepare the other bull, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire to it. And you call on the name of your God, and I will call upon the name of the Lord. And the God who answers by fire, he is God. And all the people answered, it's well spoken. We quite like this. Yeah. This will make good TV. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose for yourselves 1 bull and prepare it first, for you are many, and call upon the name of your God, but put no fire to it. And they took the bull that was given them, and they prepared it, and called upon the name of Baal from morning until noon. So probably around 6 o'clock in the morning, so 6 hours, saying, O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice. And no one answered. And they limped around the altar that they had made. And at noon, Elijah mocked them, saying, cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he's musing, or he's relieving himself, or he's on a journey, or perhaps he's asleep and must be awakened. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their custom with swords and lances until the blood gushed out upon them. And as midday passed, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. But there was no voice. No one answered. No one paid attention. Whew. Then Elijah said to all the people, come near to me. And all the people came near to him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be your name. There's an identity statement right there. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. And he made a trench about the altar, as great as would contain 2 seahs of seed. And he put the wood in order, and he cut the bull in pieces, and he laid it on the wood. And then he said, fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood. And he said, do it a second time. And they did it a second time. And he said, do it a third time. And they did it a third time. And the water ran around the altar and filled the trench also with water. So this thing should not burn. And at the end of the offering of the oblation, Elijah the prophet came near and said, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all of these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when the people saw it, they fell on their faces and they said, the Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. And Elijah said to them, seize the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slaughtered them there. Yes. So, in Matthew 16, verse 1, the Pharisees ask for a sign from Jesus. Essentially what they're saying is, prove your identity, give us a sign. Russell Dilday, one of the commentators, says, there's embedded in the consciousness of humankind an almost irrepressible desire for rational, visible proofs on which to base our beliefs. Reason before faith is the order of unregenerate skepticism. But Jesus reversed that order. Faith comes first, then reason follows to undergird and confirm. But the yearning for evidence so deeply embedded in human experience has been reinforced in our day by reverence for the scientific method with its quest for demonstrated certainty. The desire for convincing signs dies slowly. That desire was very much alive in Elijah's day. The people wanted some visible proof that Yahweh was the true God. And this time, God was willing to give them a spectacular sign. So God commands Elijah to set up the showdown, which God would answer by fire. Now, of course, for Baal being a storm god, this is easy. You're the God who rides on the clouds. You're the God who sends lightning. This is easy for you, isn't it, Baal? Now, this question, who do you believe in? Give me an answer. Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? It's like, how long will you stagger between these two completely different things? It's almost like you're on the fork of a tree, and you're trying to walk along the fork of a tree, but it's getting wider and wider and wider apart. He's saying, how long will you keep trying to walk on this tree like this? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people did not answer him a word. How long will you stumble? And in this one question, Elijah lays bare the problem, the spiritual disease of the nation. You see, beloved, Satan doesn't mind if we serve many gods. He's happy to fill our lives with gods. He only minds if we serve the one God, Jesus Christ. In fact, in the New Testament, one of Satan's key weapons against God's people is to add other things to Jesus. So we find the Galatians, it's Jesus plus obedience to the law equals salvation. Or In the Colossians, Jesus plus special knowledge from angels equals salvation. Or in others, Jesus plus an ascetic lifestyle equals salvation. So time and time again, the New Testament reminds us that Jesus plus nothing equals salvation. You cannot add anything to Jesus. It's Jesus alone. And the moment you add anything to Jesus, you've no longer got the gospel and you've no longer got salvation. So Israel, God's people, have welcomed Jezebel and her idols into Jerusalem, given them a temple, a place of honor and worship right next to where they worshipped Yahweh. Or at least, maybe they still imagined that what they were doing was worshiping Yahweh. So Elijah's question is this: how long will you stumble along this ridiculous, contradictory, unsustainable path? Is Baal God? Or is Yahweh God? Now, so often in the hearts of people, there's a question that comes at this point. Or? Does it have to be or? Can't it be and? Baal and Yahweh? Can't there be room for a multicultural, multi-faith, tolerant, easygoing world for both? And the point that Elijah's making is you cannot be neutral. You cannot hold these two things together. You cannot be inclusive in this particular matter. There are many things we want to be inclusive about, but this is not one of them. It's Yahweh alone, or it's whatever else you want. It can't be Jesus and your lifestyle. It can't be Jesus and whatever else becomes really important to you. Jesus is exclusive. Now, you might be asking, what does all this Baal, Yahweh stuff have to do with me? I'm living in New Brunswick in 2025. What does this story have to do with my life? Like, this is irrelevant. Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones defines idols this way. He says, an idol is anything that occupies a place in my heart that should only be occupied by God. Or Tim Keller says this. He says, our hearts are idol factories. In other words, we can turn all kinds of things, bad things and good things, into ultimate things. And when we do that, we have created an idol. And our hearts are, what happens is we begin to live our lives towards those idols, and that is worship. That is allegiance. So Elijah is saying, if Yahweh is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. See, Elijah understands that theology leads to discipleship. What you believe will shape how you live. What you commit to will have consequence in your life. And Jesus invites us into an exclusive relationship with him. This is what I was talking about in terms of jealous earlier on. It's exclusive. It's not Jesus plus my other loves. It's Jesus alone. And Jesus' purpose is not simply that you might know him, but that you might love him and follow him and serve him all the days of your life. Now, this exclusivity is offensive to the culture around us, isn't it? Why? Because we have believed the lie that true freedom is the right to choose without being accountable for my actions. That's what true freedom is. It's a lie. I get to choose whatever I want, and nobody can hold me accountable for that, for those choices. I want to sleep with whoever I please. But when a guy gets a girl pregnant, I don't want to be responsible for the child. I don't want accountability. I just want freedom. We want choice without consequence. We want freedom without responsibility. But, brothers and sisters, this isn't true freedom. It's not actually freedom. The Bible teaches us that the only choice we actually have is to whom we will be obedient. Now, in Romans 6, Paul talks about slavery, and he uses this example of the slave market. Now, in our day, this doesn't make a ton of sense to us because we don't have a slave market in town. Our world is so different to the world that they would have lived in. But in, obviously, that day, there would have been a slave market in the town. And let's say you had been taken into slavery. You are at your master's beck and call, 24 hours a day. He gets to decide what time you wake up and what time you go to sleep. He gets to decide how many hours a day you work. Is it 18 hours a day? Is it 20 hours a day? He gets to decide that. And he gets to decide the nature of your work. So Paul says, but thanks be to God, you who were once slaves of sin have become obedient from the heart to the standard of teaching to which you were committed, and having been set free from sin, have become slaves of righteousness. I'm speaking in human terms because of your natural limitations. For just as you once presented your members as slaves to impurity and to lawlessness, leading to more lawlessness, so now present your members as slaves to righteousness, leading to sanctification. What he's saying is that when you were under this old slave master, you had no choice. You just obeyed the slave master. But then, one day, the slave master decided, I'm done with you. I don't like you anymore. You've served your purpose. And he took you down to the slave market. And he put you up for sale. And you were there thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder what comes next. And along came a new master, and the master said, I'll buy this slave. And the master took you back to his home, and you discovered a completely different kind of master. A master who loves you. A master who invites you into ownership among his family. A master who treats you like a son or a daughter. A master who produces good and has you producing good. You start to think, I love the work I'm doing. There's a freedom in the relationship with this new master. He empowers you. And so Paul goes on, he says, well, when you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. But what fruit were you getting at that time from the things of which you are now ashamed? It produced a fruitfulness in you that was horrible. For the end of those things is death. But now that you've been set free from sin and have become slaves of God, the fruit you get leads to sanctification and its end, eternal life. So, brothers and sisters, we get to choose, in that sense, whose slave we are. Are you a slave of the evil one? Or are you a slave of righteousness? Are you a slave? Who will you obey? Who will you obey? And there is a master who delights in us, who loves us, who sets us free. And so this new master who's purchased us with this great price of his own blood, he delights in you and me. He loves his servants, and the servants know we have his favor. He's for us. He doesn't work us into the ground. He delights in us. And the work we do is wonderful. Jesus said, nobody can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. So Jesus sets the same choice before us. Who will you serve? You can't sit on the fence. For to not make a choice is to make a choice, just like Israel. Oh, we'll try to have both. We'll try to walk along these branches that are going in different directions. Some of us may even think we have made a choice, and we may speak as if we've made a choice, but our actions may belie that the choice we've actually made is different to the choice we speak about. We say we're serving Jesus, but actually we're serving a lifestyle. Actually, our lives are oriented towards our view of a preferable future. We're serving mammon And what we're trying to do is squeeze a little Jesus into it. We're saying, here's my real God, but Jesus, I'd love you to come in as well, because I like some of the stuff you do. And so if you could just join me in this, I think we can all get along together. You need to do the uncomfortable thing, or we all need to do it from time to time, and just invite Jesus to search our hearts and to reveal any way in us where we are unpleasing to him, where we're setting our hope in other things. So the choice is set before them. This is what leads to the showdown. Which of these, Baal or Yahweh, is God? Choose this day and follow him wholeheartedly. Now here's the people's first answer to the question. Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him. And the people did not answer him a word. That's their first answer. What about Baal? The sacrifice is now set up. All he has to do is send a streak of lightning. After all, he's the storm god. And they took the bull that was given them, and they prepared it, and they called upon the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, "Oh, Baal, answer us!" But there was no voice, and no one answered. I just love the way he writes this. No one answered. There was no voice. Because what's the point here? The point is there is a voice. There is an answer. And his name is Yahweh. And his servant is Elijah. So they called from morning till noon. Answer us, Baal, hour after hour. The heavens are deathly quiet. And Elijah begins to not mock them. Surely he's a God, isn't he? Maybe you're just not shouting loud enough. And so it says they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. But there was no voice. No one answered. No one paid attention. They start whipping themselves into a religious frenzy. It says they raved on. There's the sense of a religious fervor that begins to become detached from reality. There's a sense that one's brain is being left at the door. Can I just say, God has no interest in this kind of raving. God has no interest in hype. God has no interest in a religious fervor that's detached from reality. This morning, last night, as we worshipped, you would have seen a people who are enthusiastic and expressive in worship because of the joy of knowing God, the joy of knowing his forgiveness, the joy of knowing his love. And we are full of joy because of this love. But can I say there's never religious frenzy? There's no hype, and we didn't leave our brains at the door. All of this is very well thought through. We're standing in truth. We're saying that here's the truth that we're building our lives on. We're singing songs about how the rain came but the ground that we're standing on stood firm. What are we doing? We're singing truth. We're saying this is real. We've thought this stuff through. We've engaged with it with our brains. Knowing God and worshiping God requires the opposite of hype and religious frenzy. It requires deep thinking. Religious frenzy produces nothing meaningful, and we see it illustrated here. No voice, no answer, no one paid attention, silence. Their God couldn't answer because he wasn't a living God. He's a demonic deity, which though he is powerful, he's powerless against Yahweh. So, our attention turns to Elijah, and Elijah does something. Before he puts the sacrifice on the altar, he rebuilds the altar. He says to the people, "Come near to me." And then he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. So probably in this whole purge of the nation, this altar, which was an old altar, ancient altar, has been smashed. And so the first thing he does is he rebuilds it. He takes 12 stones, and of course those 12 stones are according to the number of the tribes of Israel. And so he's saying this that we're about to do here, what we're about to do, this is for the whole nation. This is about your identity. This is about who you are as a people. And we have this amazing picture of restoration right here, that God is saying to Israel, even though you have deserted me, I have not forgotten you. I am a covenant-keeping God who does not forget, and I am never unfaithful to my promise. I believe there are some people here this morning, and you need to hear that from God. You might even say, I've walked away from God, I've been unfaithful to God, and I think I'm done. But God wants to say to you, I am a covenant-keeping God, and I am calling you back in my faithfulness. I never forgot my promise. I never forgot my covenant with you. And so these 12 stones are a picture of the fullness of God's people. And as Elijah begins to build this altar, we actually see a reflection of something that we saw earlier in the Old Testament. That when the high priest went into the Holy of Holies, he put on a breastplate. And on that breastplate were 12 jewels. And these 12 jewels represented the tribes of Israel. And so literally on his breast, he would walk into the Holy of Holies, carrying the people of God on his heart. And this is what Jesus does at the cross. He literally walks before his Father, carrying his people, carrying you and me on his breast. And it's just the most beautiful picture of his love. You may not know his love today, but he's reaching out to you. Or you may know his love and you may say, I've walked away from this. He's reaching out to you today. At the time of the offering of the oblation, Elijah the prophet came near and said, O God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant and that I have done these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know you, O Lord, that these people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Isn't that a remarkable statement? What he's saying is, this is a prophetic moment right now. The nation is being called back to God. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench. And all the people saw it. They fell on their faces and they said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. Simple obedience. I do what you tell me to do, and I leave the rest to you. God is calling people back. But God isn't a God of fire. God is a God of action. Even as we pray for healing, we're expecting something. We're expecting God to move. We're not expecting nothing. We're not coming here just because we like to gather. We're coming here because we have expectation that the living God is going to move in power, and he's going to lay hold of our lives, because there's a desperate world, hurting world, longing for purpose, longing for meaning. And God wants to do that among us. There's this beautiful sense that we are a people of fire. We are a Pentecost people. And Jesus wants to pour his Holy Spirit on us, that we might be a people who bring this kind of clarity to the lives of those around us. But we do it not just, as I said last night, with our words. We do it with action. And so we're going to just finish off by going after some action. And there might be some prophetic things to come in this moment. I'm going to lead us off with some healing. Now, It may be that you stood up to be prayed for last night and you didn't get healed. That's okay. We go again today. And we'll go again tomorrow. And we'll go again the next day. And maybe we'll do it twice tomorrow. I don't know. But what we're doing is we're saying this does not rest upon us. And we're not going to allow disappointment to stop us pressing in to God and saying, we know who you are and what you're like. And we're believing you to come. I believe God wants to empower people this morning so that when you leave camp, you go and lay hands on people and you prophesy into people's hearts and you bring the fire of God that begins to make people say, surely there is a God. Surely there is a God. And he wants us to, sometimes Jesus came and he demonstrated and then he taught, didn't he? Here's the sign, and the sign points to something. Here's the sign, it's a healing, it's a deliverance, it points to the fact that the king is among you. There is a king.